William Ruto amekuwa kisell for Kenyans hope of Kenya becoming the next Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, is this dream really valid? Wait, this is what we are going to measure on our today's political analysis, because President William Ruto, his political strategies imekuwa ya kuspread hopes to Kenyans.
Nasikia wale majamaa hawataki Singapore, ati wanataka kwenda Somalia. Wale ni watu akili sijui namna gani. Tunaelewana my friends? Tumekubaliana? Wacha nichukue nafasi hii kwa sababu unajua bado tuko na mkutano mwingine upande ile.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is this hope that President William Ruto selling to Kenyans might be a false narrative from first world, from a third world country to modern day Singapore? Ladies and gentlemen, the same narrative that this man sold for us using the hustler narrative, pesa kwa mfuko, a notion that made him to become and win the 2022 presidential election. Ladies and gentlemen, but before I deep dive into this video, kindly just take a second or two to like this video, comment, and most importantly, just subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if by any chance you are watching us from a different platform, kindly just head over to YouTube, search for Creative Silas TV. If politics, war, and documentaries is all you are passionate about, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to listen to this tape.
Housing, we must do it. Imagine Singapore was like Kenya 60 years ago. Today in Singapore, 95% of people are homeowners. They are in the first world. In Kenya, it is the opposite. 7 million people are living in slums. We are in the third world. We are going to change this country. Believe you me. Hii inchi tutaibadilisha. We have what it takes as a nation. There is no reason why we cannot catch up with Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea. There is no reason we can catch up with them if we just make the right decisions. And I'm going to go out of my way to make sure we make those
70s. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the late 90s, Singapore was a third world country. And for it to be a first world country, here are some of the things that the then president of Singapore alifanya. The first thing was the guy made sure that all corrupt individuals walikuwa sentenced. Secondly, he made sure that every person, every kid in Singapore was well educated. Thirdly, the then president of Singapore made sure that every person who was educated in Singapore at that time alipata employment. And lastly, he made sure that every person or any household in Singapore at that time, hata wenye walikuwa kwa nyumba matope, had a well housing project. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can remember one minister of Singapore at that time who was forced to hang himself when he was about to face his judgment. Well, ladies and gentlemen, is the Singapore hope that President William Ruto is trying to sell for Kenyans, can it be legit, ama itakuwa tu kama hizo stories za William Ruto zenye tumekuwa tukisoma? Because William Ruto is this guy mwenye alisema aje, he will come with the hustler narrative, ati pesa itakuwa kwa mkono ya kila mwananchi. Well, immediately after being elected in 2022 presidential election, nyinyi watu simuliona, I don't know, he tried this thing, but the hustler fund failed terribly. Where several people walichukua loan but defaulted paying it. So before William Ruto aseme ati anataka before William Ruto aseme ati he wants Kenya to be like the past, before William Ruto aseme ati before William Ruto speak of Kenya being Singapore, here are some of the risk that President William Ruto anafaa kuwa subjected to, na ni kama hizi vitu zote zimemshika. The first thing is William Ruto anafaa kufight corruption, and is the thing though, the president mwenye all along amekuwa accused na corruption case, even though hatujapata a president, even though Kenyan courts hazijawahi mchaja. You can remember the guy alipelekwa Hague after 2027, after 2007 massacre that happened in Kenya, and the Kenyans themselves walivote him out. Unaona? So tell me, how is a guy who is corrupt, a person wenye aliweka kwa ministry ya agriculture, na jamaa alikula pesa huko kwa agriculture vibaya sana? How do you expect such a guy, a person who is the ringleader of corruption, to stop corruption? It's the thing though. Kenya right now, I think that if there is something that, well, I think that if William Ruto, and well, I think that the first step of William Ruto to make Kenya a Singapore is, unaona hao watu all these people wenye wako kwa serikali sasa hizi, let's talk of people like akina Waiguru mwenye alikula pesa ya Eurobond na ako kwa serikali, is the current governor of Kirinyaga. These people wanafaa kuletwa kwa meza, the same thing that Singapore did. Walileta all those leaders wenye walikuwa corrupt ama walikuwa na cases ya corruption wakawafunga. This is the same thing that William Ruto anafaa kufanya at the moment kama nataka this Singapore dream ikuwe achieved. And do you think that William Ruto is ready to risk this one? Because jamani, jamaa mwenye ako entitled to kura. We recently saw when Wanga alikuwa anaquestioniwa about the ghost workers yenye ameandika hapo kwa county government ya Homa Bay alifumble, and these guys are the same people when you preach the narrative of totem, and the guy himself when you preach the narrative of totem, jamaa anasema aje ati anataka ku make Kenya Singapore with all these corrupt individuals when wakimsurround. Secondly, William Ruto should focus on building infrastructure. Well, William Ruto tumemjua of late, jamaa amekuwa launch several projects in 254. Now, the funny thing is 2% of those projects waga zinakamilika. I can remember alikuwa anasema ndio barabara itoke Lua ifike Kodolo. The road there, I don't know. But if by any chance kuna mtu mwenye can confirm for us hiyo barabara kama imetengenezwa, anaweza confirm kwa comment section ya hii video. If by any chance barabara itengenezwa, kudos to the president. But me at venye namjua, cause ame launch several projects hapa Nyanza na hizo barabara. Yani jamani atakuja a launch project yenye amefanya nusu, imefanywa nusu. Project jaisha na ishakuwa launch already. So ladies and gentlemen, what will this one take? William Ruto should put a lot of focus on this infrastructure. Singapore made sure that most of its citizens who could not afford living in good standard houses, watu walipata chance ya kuishi kwa hizo manyumba. And William Ruto in this case amekuwa kijaribu with him doing several affordable housing project. Pali amekuwa launch these houses which for there naweza mpatia a 10/10 where Mkuru kwa jenga result ali auction ile yenye ilikuwa inaitwa Bahati, jamaa alipeana hizo manyumba huko, which I think that hapo amejaribu, but several families are still lamenting that economy ni mbaya. We have several families in Kenya at the moment who are seriously struggling. Well, another thing that made also Singapore to become first world is education. And here's the thing though, a country at the moment where the new funding model of these campuses, no one even understands them. And this is the thing, the president anatuambia that he is planning to make Kenya a third world, a first world. For us to be a first world country, education should be affordable. So every person should afford this tertiary or higher level education. Fourth and the last reason is this problem of unemployment. William Ruto in this case anatuambia aje ati yeye kazi yake wewe usome alafu kuwe mjanja. Utafuta shughuli venye napiga hivi utakuwa successful. What are those? I think that the country itself should create good mechanisms yenye watu wanafaa kupata na kazi. Unamaliza shule hapo, the system inakuabsorb automatically. Si ati lazima upige shughuli 2-3 kama rais. Anyway guys, do you think that Kenya tunaweza kuwa Singapore? Ama hii Singapore dream yenye tunauziwa ni kama ile dream ya Asla narrative? At last, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that the Kenyan government is ready for this Singapore dream yenye wanatuuzia, ama hizi ni stories zile za William Ruto ya Asla Fund, see affordable housing, what tumemjua na propaganda yake, the 10 point agenda? At last, I was your host Silas. Till next video, bye bye.